Shalom from Jerusalem. I'm Jonathan Hessen, and this is TV7's Israel at War update. And as we mark today, day 670 since the Islamist Hamas and its terror affiliates committed the crimes against the state of Israel on October 7th of 2023. It is a day in which we're going to focus on, of course, the meeting that occurred at the UN Security Council in New York with regard to the state of the hostages, the interesting response to the remarks by the ambassador of Russia, by no other than the Israeli foreign minister, who blamed Russia for basically sowing disinformation. Nothing new there, but nonetheless, this will be discussed here, as well as the latest decision-making and deliberations here in Jerusalem with regard to Gaza. We will also discuss briefly the Lebanese file, Iran, and the derivatives thereof. But before all that, we have a full house today, starting with our TV7 editor-at-large, Mr. Amir Oren. Next to him, retired Brigadier General Mark Kimmett, formerly an Assistant Secretary of State for Political and Military Affairs. In addition, we have also Brigadier General in Reserve, Doron Gavish, the commander of the Israeli Air Force Task Force for Air and Missile Defense. And last but certainly not least, Brigadier General in Reserve, Dr. Amnon Sofrin, formerly the chief of the Intelligence Directorate at Mossad, as well as a senior officer at the IDF Intelligence Directorate. It's great to see all four of you. And Mr. Oren, it was an interesting discussion yesterday at the UN Security Council. Give us a very brief summary, since we have a lot to discuss.
Well, this is only for true fans of the genre, because here in our panels, we produce volumes of words to no avail, but at the UN, they even excel. They speak pompously. They believe that they have some impact, but they don't. The ambassadors, the permanent representatives say a lot, but do nothing. So yes, the Israeli foreign minister had some acid words for the Russian government, because they are obviously committing atrocities in the Ukraine. Who are they to tell us what to do, and who's taking care of our hostages? But this does not advance our cause one iota.
General Kimmett, the United States, when lashed out by no other than Russia over its boycotting of an international conference on a two-state solution that took place late last month in Saudi Arabia by the Saudis and the French, of course, responded by saying that the whole story of trying to push for a two-state solution recognition at this point in time is no less than a facade. What can we take out of that, and to what degree are all those statements and rhetoric which happen in international fora actually counterproductive to the actual process?
Well, I agree with him. It's Faulkner's sound and fury. A lot of noise, but really means nothing. This notion of a two-state solution has been around for many, many years. We're no closer to it now than at any point in history. So I think, again, Faulkner was right. This is just a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing.
Thank you, General Kimmett. General Gavish, when we're talking specifically about the deliberations in Jerusalem yesterday, we heard that a option out of a couple of variables presented to a small meeting with the Prime Minister, Defense Minister, Minister of Strategic Affairs, and the Chief of General Staff. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu seems inclined to deal with the final pockets in the central Gaza Strip as well as in Gaza City proper, which would effectively mean that Israel would be heading, in the event that the Security Cabinet tomorrow would adopt such a option, to conquer the Gaza Strip, as it were, with the various ramifications of such a decision, of course, in the making.
Well, you're right, Jonathan. I think that in Israel there is a lot of frustration that after the effort that was made by the IDF and the main goal of it, which was to bring the Hamas into the negotiation table, unfortunately, it didn't happen. By the way, maybe to refer to what was said by Amir and General Kimmich, there are some in this region that are listening to what is happening in the UN, and this is the Hamas. I think that the Hamas, once he understood that there is this, I would say, effort made by some of the countries around us, mainly in Europe, saying that they would back up the decision of declining of a Palestinian state. For them, it says that it works. What they did on the 7th of October, here we go. This is the reward, and I think that it played very very bad from our point of view, and of course for the hostages, because these statements basically enforce them. And they feel better when it comes to the international environment. You combine to it the hunger campaign, and I think this is something that we do see influencing our region. Going back to your question, yes, there should be a decision. What is the next step? Because the IDF came back to the cabinet saying, okay, we did what was expected until this point. We want to be, we want to understand what would be the next steps.
Thank you, General Kavish. General Sofrin, why would Hamas not dig in when there are state leaders such as British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who openly stated unless Israel secures the release of the hostages and fulfills a long list of demands by London's current leader, he's going to recognize a Palestinian state, giving Hamas a state rather than the Palestinians themselves. So why would Hamas not dig in and hold the hostages for the remainder of this duration until that deadline is going to be fulfilled?
Jonathan, as we learned from almost 2 years of fighting in Gaza, Hamas is playing on time. Hamas is dragging the process as much as it can to survive. That is first thing, to survive, to stay in power, and not to get out of Gaza and not to be disarmed and so on and so on. That means that each declaration like that of the Prime Minister of the UK and others, like France and Saudi Arabia and other countries as well, give Hamas a lot of what we call encouraging wind and encouraging pulls to keep on resisting and to not negotiate and not to come and say, okay, we surrender, we wave the white flag. That means that Israel, you can do whatever you like, but we have the support of the whole international community. And therefore, please don't mess with us right now, because they're not going to give up. We're not going to leave Gaza Strip. We're not going to be disarmed. We're not going to get out of Gaza totally. All your ambitions and all your thoughts and all your dreams will never be fulfilled, because we have the backup of the international community. That means that Hamas is still consisting on its own terms, meaning to end up this war, to get international guarantees that Israel will not renew the war, and to get Israelis out of Gaza Strip totally, and to leave Gaza to its own regime or somebody else in coordination with him, but he will stay in Gaza Strip as well.
Thank you, General Zofri and Mr. Oren. Let's shift gears to Lebanon. Israel struck a couple of Hezbollah terror operatives just yesterday, eliminating them. People who were in key positions this time around. All the while, the Lebanese government, during a cabinet meeting of Prime Minister Nawaf Salam, has made some very interesting remarks with regard to the intentions to enforce the consolidation of power by the Lebanese armed forces. What are we to take out of that?
So when you say key people who are being taken out by Israel, these are mostly key tactical personnel. Israel has decimated Hezbollah last summer, especially last September, with Nasrallah and all of his high command gone, that there are really no strategic targets for Israel, person-wise, targeted killings anymore. And whoever comes up to a senior position, they know that their days are numbered. But Israel is systematically mowing down people in the equivalent major or lieutenant colonel ranks, whoever is in charge of anti-tank or rocket attacks in a certain sector, or a planner, or even someone who is in charge of finance or manpower. And that is more important than whatever Nawaf Salam or even President Joseph Aoun sees fit to announce. Because up to now, Hezbollah has been behaving quite well according to the ceasefire agreement, but it has not agreed to officially lay down its arms, and therefore another round is still in the cards.
Well, behaved quite well is relative when we're talking here in this context, since they continue to try to gain additional finances, smuggling munitions, and other aspects that do need to be taken into account and cannot be characterized as acting well in any context. But nonetheless, I do take your point.
Obediently, they did not
Obediently, yeah, sure. Okay, General Kimmett, I'd like to hear your take on the latest tensions between the Lebanese government and Hezbollah. Of course, we spoke briefly about this yesterday, but nonetheless, do you see a scenario in which the Lebanese government could enforce its will upon Hezbollah?
No, I think we're getting about as much out of the Lebanese government as is possible at the time. The fact remains that the LAF is down south of the Litani. It is somewhat doing what we had asked UNIFIL to be doing for years and years, monitoring a ceasefire and picking up the weapons. I actually think at this point, since Beirut is not seen as a legitimate form of governance in southern Lebanon at this time, that until Beirut really has the writ of sovereignty over southern Lebanon, it will always be in a precarious position in terms of its enforcing its will down there. So I think we've got the best we can ask for at this point, and it will be some time before southern Lebanon would really be considered part of constituent whole.
Thank you, General Kimmett. General Gavish, at the culmination of the war versus Hezbollah, which lasted for several months since October 8th of 23 until last year, the 27th of November, when a ceasefire was brokered by the previous administration in Washington, we did see a reality in which Hezbollah continues to maintain roughly 20% of its stockpiles. And now, with reports of mounting tensions, also with Israel conveying messages saying unless the Lebanese army takes responsibility for the arrangement that was conducted vis-a-vis the ceasefire, this might once again end up in hostilities. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I would go back to the strategic level, and we've talked about it in the past, but I think it's important to go back and highlight it again. Israel, from it is national strategy, national defense strategy, I think, add another pillar, and this is prevention. We talk about our attack operation, defense operation, alert capabilities, and so on, but I think that this is a decision, this is one of the main lesson learned of the 7th of October, that we cannot allow our enemies, the ones around us, to have the capabilities to hit strongly Israel and to damage it strongly. Therefore, I think this is what we drive the way of behavior for the next few months, probably next few years. So I would listen carefully to what Israel is saying with regard to it if I was the leader of the Hamas.
General Sofin, when we're talking about foreign influences in Lebanon, obviously the French and the Americans are the guarantors, so to speak, of the mechanism in place to enforce a ceasefire in consultation, of course, with UNIFIL, Israel, and the Lebanese armed forces. But nonetheless, the Saudis are active players there. The Qataris and the Turks are quite vigorously involved, particularly in the northern part of Lebanon. And let's not forget Qatar, which is a very significant actor there. Uh, are there more actors, and to what degree does this actually influence the inner workings of what's happening currently in Beirut?
First of all, I think that you mentioned all the what we call the foreign partners that are playing a role now in Lebanon. I think that we have to focus on two of them. The first one is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is stepping in the place that was what used to be the role of Iran. That means they are now going to invest a lot of money in order to restore and to rebuild southern Lebanon, and to get by that influence and control on South Lebanon and other parts of Lebanon as well, just like the Iranians did after the Second Lebanon War. Means they gave a lot of money to Hezbollah to rebuild and to restruct all the area of South Lebanon, and now the Saudis are doing the same to get the same influence on Lebanon. And of course, it's more easy because most of the population in South Lebanon are what we call Sunnis, and they are affiliated with Saudi Arabia more than with the Iranians, and so on. On the other hand, we have Turkey, and of course, all the other countries are joining them, meaning UAE and Qatar, and of course, other countries. Each one wants to have its own share and to have its own influence in Lebanon and to assist rebuilding Lebanon. When referring to the Turks are trying to get hold on northern Syria, meaning they now signed an agreement, or they are going to sign an agreement by the end of this month with the new president of Syria, Ahmad al-Shara, which means that they are going to rebuild three new armed garrison for their forces inside Syria. One is going to be in Palmyra, the second one is going to be on Airfield T4, which is in the area of Homs, and the third one will be in the area of Aleppo. And they are going to hold forces inside Syria. And of course, this reflects also to the northern part of Lebanon, because they see the northern part of Lebanon from Tripoli to the north, to the Syrian border, as part of what we call Alexandretta area that actually is under their control for many years, and they want to extend it into South Lebanon, into North Lebanon, and to get hold on that area as well.
Thank you, General Sofrin. We have roughly 7.5 minutes left, and I'd like to give each of you a country to give a brief analysis about. We'll start with you, Mr. Oren. Syria. It's been, of course, quite the rocky period during the various attacks, both by the Al-Julani or Al-Shara government against Sweda. But nonetheless, a fragile ceasefire with some Bedouin clans on the one hand launching attacks against the fringes of Sueda governorate, all the while the major Bedouin tribes coming out against those Bedouin clans, saying that they're not part of them at all. So there seems to be some complexity there. And we do also see that Central Command is now or under Operation Inherent Resolve, also conducting joint exercises with the Damascus security forces, namely Division 70. What are we to take of that?
So let me draw the attention of our viewers to a new publication by the Inspector General for Operation Inherent Resolve. This is a joint report by the Defense and State Departments. And while it is being written very diplomatically, it may be quite shocking to see that American forces are being pulled out, that Turkey is the main focus of American policy now. Obviously, Special Envoy Thomas Barak, the ambassador to Turkey, but operating not out of Ankara, but out of the Consulate General in Istanbul, is the sort of High Commissioner for Syria. And the Ashara regime, while it is not in full control of its own defense ministry, under General Abu Kasra, apparently is making all the right noises so that the US administration is willing to accede to almost all of its demands.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. Indeed, the publication by DOD, as was presented to Congress, is quite a revealing one with the recommendations to the White House, particularly President Trump, is to have a Turkey first policy vis-a-vis the Middle East, which is quite interesting to say the least. Also, far-reaching implications for Israel. General Kimmett, in the country of Iraq, we're seeing that there is a warning by U.S. sources or officials to the Iraqi government that the conscription law that may take into effect may drive Damascus or Iranian influence in Damascus to amplify. Is that something that we should be concerned about?
Well, first, on that last point that somehow the United States is ceding the Middle East to Turkey, I think that is absolutely wrong. But if that's part of the narrative, so be it. What's going on inside of Iraq right now is the notion of the PMF, the Popular Mobilization Force law that the United States is objecting to. I don't know why the United States is objecting to it. It simply makes de jure what is already de facto, which is that the PMF is a constituent part of the security forces inside of Iraq. The Iraqi government says this will actually give them more control over the Popular Mobilization Forces. The United States says that this institutionalizes the Popular Mobilization Forces at a time when we're trying to reduce the number of Hashid, not increase them. I think that's probably the center point right now of what's otherwise a fairly benign environment inside of Iraq and benign relations between the U.S. and Iraq.
Thank you, General Kimmett. General Gavish, yesterday was yet again a launch of a ballistic missile from Yemen by the Iranian proxy Ansar Allah, dominated, of course, by the Houthi tribe towards Israel. What can you tell us about that, and are preparations in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv to deal with this issue once and for all?
Well, of course, this is something that we must take in consideration because the Houthis, as we know, are continuously shooting missiles toward Israel. Fortunately enough, they are all being intercepted by the multi-tier defense that is being deployed here in Israel. Our forces, together with our brothers in arms from the United States. But this is something that for sure we would have to look at it, and all the options are on the table. We probably won't be able to be in a position that we are in the defense for for more time. And if this would be something that we would see that it is continuing, probably Israel would consider also offensive operations.
Thank you, General Gavish. General Sofrin, it seems like the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps in Iran has become quite negligent when it comes to not taking care of stoves, lighting fires in various ballistic missile bases and nuclear sites. What can you tell us about that? And of course, the Iranians are in a bad position here since they cannot, in this context, attribute any blame to Israel, since that would render them in a position to potentially respond to something that they won't be able to get out of.
I believe that what happens in Iran, all these mysterious explosions and so on, are what we call some unnatural capabilities that came out of the sky and hit some places in Iran. Nobody really knows who's beyond that. And of course, the Iranians cannot blame Israel because this will show that they are very weak and that they are exposed to any attempt of Israel to cause damage to their facilities. And therefore, of course, Israel is not what we call, of course, the immediate suspect, as it used to do it before. On the other hand, the fact that they're being hit here and then doesn't really affect their preparedness for another round with Israel, and now they're trying to get more advanced weapon systems, mainly from China, but not only. But China is a main supplier that gives them a lot of anti-aircraft new batteries of advanced weapon systems, as well as aircraft and the other ones as well. And they're preparing themselves for another round in Israel against Israel because they know or they assess that this is going to happen somewhere in the coming months, and they're preparing for that. And just today, I had a rumor that they're preparing to launch what we call a preemptive strike on Israel, because knowing that Israel, or thinking that Israel is going to attack them, and they're now planning that if they have indications, they're going to have a preemptive strike.
Thank you, General Sofrin. Very informative indeed. General Gavish, General Kimmett, Mr. Oren, all of you, thank you for your valuable insights. And I'd like to thank all of you at home as well. Until our next edition from here in Jerusalem. Shalom.
Jerusalem Studio, now available on Spotify.